There's a monster in your chest. These guys hijacked your ship, sold your cryotube to this human, and he put an alien inside of you. And it's a big one. In a few hours, it's going to burst through your rib cage, and you're going to die. Any questions? Alien Resurrection stars Sigourney Weaver, Michael Wincott, Winona Ryder, and is directed by Jean-Pierre Jeunet. So what's up, guys? It's time to close out the core Alien reviews. Gonna get to the Versus Predator series after Covenant, but I wanted to wrap up all the regular Alien movies before I saw Covenant. Now, as far as the Alien movies go, Resurrection is considered to be the worst. I'm not counting the Versus Predator series, but most people would say this is the worst. I think it's the worst, but I tend to give it a pass where a lot of people don't. I still think there's a lot of fun to be had with this movie. It has some interesting characters, some beautiful cinematography, and I think there's a lot to talk about, especially the character of Ripley. So anyway, let's get into this review. So after Alien 3, some of the producers didn't really want another Alien movie, but most did. You know, it is still a lucrative franchise. But I think the lesson learned from Alien 3 was they wanted to play it safe, they wanted to give it a slicker look, and they brought in Jean-Pierre Jeunet, who is more of a visual director, but they wanted a director that would really kind of be a yes man, for lack of a better term. This is the movie we want you to make. Don't make any big changes, don't give us any arguments, and everything will be fine. And so really that's what Jean-Pierre Jeunet was. He didn't really ruffle any feathers. He wanted to come in, make the movie that they wanted, and everybody be happy. But Resurrection takes place 200 years after the events of Alien 3. And if you remember in Alien 3, Ripley clearly died. How do you bring her back? Really, the only way was to clone her. And by the way, Joss Whedon, who directed Avengers, created Buffy the Vampire Slayer, he penned the script for Alien Resurrection. But cloning Ripley was really the only way to logistically bring her back. And so in this story, this group of scientists on the ship, they clone Ripley, and they call her Ripley 8 because there are 7 unsuccessful attempts before we finally get to the working version. And after cloning her, they cloned her from a pregnant Ripley. And so in the process, they extracted an alien from her, created an alien. And at the end of the movie, that alien gives birth in an unconventional way as opposed to the original Queen alien. It actually has a fetus. And so we get a human kind of alien, and we're going to talk about that a little later. But really, Alien Resurrection is mostly about Ripley and kind of her self-discovery, because again, she's not the original Ripley. She is a clone, but there is some of that DNA in there. You know, she still has some of those Ripley characteristics, some of those Ripley memories, but there's also this dark side of her. She kind of has a psychic connection to the alien. If you remember, the original Ripley hated the aliens. This Ripley kind of sympathizes with them. And so that creates some interesting moments. It creates an interesting version of the character. And she also has superhuman abilities. And just a sidestep, I love the scene where she tosses the basketball from behind her head. If you do a little studying behind the scenes on that, when she made that shot, they cut it like immediately because Ron Perlman was not able to stay in character as soon as that ball went through that hoop. But Ripley to me is a huge pro in this movie, if anything. I loved her new take on the character. Joss Whedon was actually kind of scared to pull her away from the original Ripley, but Sigourney Weaver said, no, let's keep pushing it. Let's actually see how far we can go with this character without, you know, changing her core.
I heard you, ran into these things before.
That's right.
Wow, man. So, what did you do?
I died.
And an argument can be made that Ripley is probably more of a badass in Resurrection than all the previous movies. And that's saying a lot. Also, I really dug the mercenaries in this movie. Michael Wincott is one of my favorite actors, and it's a shame that after The Crow, he didn't really skyrocket in fame, because I thought he was a great villain in The Crow. It was so refreshing to see him in this, and I liked what they were doing with his character. But he's not in the movie that long, so that's kind of a con. I wish we would have had more Michael Wincott. But Ron Perlman kind of makes up for it. Ron Perlman is great in this. He just plays such a cocky character.
My own recipe. Way more dangerous.
Him and Ripley constantly have this back and forth with each other, and it's a lot of fun, actually. Also, Brad Dourif plays one of the scientists, and Brad Dourif is always a favorite of mine. He brings something a little extra to every movie that he does. You might remember him in Lord of the Rings as Grima, and of course, he's the voice of Chucky. But he really has this fascination with the xenomorph, and the xenomorph looks amazing in this movie. The cinematography is just gorgeous, and I think when you're doing an alien movie, you have to have great cinematography because it just makes the xenomorphs shine that much better. And every time they are on screen, they look gorgeous in this movie. They look slimy, they look creepy as hell, and they're extremely violent. As a matter of fact, one of my favorite xenomorph kills is in Resurrection, where the infant alien actually comes through the chest and then through one of the scientists' forehead. Amazing. Loved it. And by the way, I have to give mad kudos to Tom Woodruff and Alec Guinness. I haven't talked about them in the previous Alien reviews. They jumped on the Alien series in James Cameron's Aliens, and they created the xenomorph design. And the work that they did on these aliens, not only in Resurrection, but all the rest of the movies, is just top notch. And I think they're a big reason why the franchise keeps going. Now, another interesting character actually is Call, played by Winona Ryder. She is the android of the movie. It seems like every Alien movie you have to have an android. And sometimes it's not known at the beginning and sometimes it is known. In this movie, it's not known by the mercenaries until the middle of the movie. But I like her because she's not bad, and she has an interesting relationship with the mercenaries because she's constantly being a pain in the ass. So she's got a lot of spunk to her, and I got the vibe that Ripley kind of respected her. Now let's get into the cons of Resurrection. It's definitely the worst of all the movies, but there's still a lot of fun to be had. But the biggest problem I have with this movie is the third act, and that hybrid alien that looks like a human. There's just something about that whole sequence that irked me. I think they could have came up with something much more interesting, much more satisfying than that. We didn't need a human alien. And as soon as that sequence happened, it really just took me out of the movie. And at the end of the movie, they are heading to Earth. And that's another thing I really didn't care for. I don't think in the Alien series, you need them to be on Earth. They do that in the Versus Predator series, and I personally think that's one thing that hurts that series. I like my Alien movies in space, because in space, no one can hear you scream. But overall, guys, in the end, I would give Alien Resurrection a humdrum. If you're an Alien fan, then it's definitely one that you'll probably watch every now and then. I don't watch it as much as I watch the first two movies, but it's still not a bad watch from time to time. If it's on TV, I'll probably check it out. So anyway, guys, what are your thoughts on Alien Resurrection? Looking forward to hearing them. Also, look for my Alien Covenant review coming next weekend. Looking forward to that. That's my #1 movie of the year. I can't wait. Also, become a member of Killer Flicks if you haven't, where we talk horror all day, every day, and on Fridays, we do Free For All Fridays. If you look down below, you can see all my social media links. If you like what I'm doing, please hit that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and Drumdum out.